Hello my gorgeous makeup loving friends, I hope you are having a fantastic day and a great start to your weekend. My name is Teresa and I love all things makeup, beauty and skincare, so on the weekends I like to hang out with you guys and talk about the newest releases in that category. Of course, I can't and don't want to talk about all of them, so you guys help me to streamline the stuff that is the most interesting. So a massive thank you to everyone who has tagged me, DM'd me, emailed me about the stuff that you wanted me to talk about. Your names are being displayed right now. You are fantastic. A massive thank you also to my YouTube community members. I need to do a live with you guys and just catch you up on the general goings on and all of the other bits and pieces. There's so many perks to being a YouTube community member. I can't think of any of them right now, but I'm sure they're vast and numerous or something like that. Anyways, we have a few little bits to talk about, so you know the drill. You must stay hydrated. I know we're heading into autumn and you're going to sit here thinking, oh no, I don't need to hydrate. You do. You do. I guarantee that you're on medications that mean that you have to hydrate. And today's mug du jour is this very cute mug, again, from Tesco. And over on the front, and I'm going to try and twirl this around because of course it is brimmed to the top with tea. It says cuddles please, and obviously it's mirrored, but there's a little cat on a dog because obviously I must over explain everything. But my gorgeous friends, let's just jump straight into some of the makeup related news. The first one is just so incredibly sad, and it's that the Uoma Beauty founder Sharon died at the age of 38. Now, Uoma Beauty, she had actually sold it off a few years ago, but there was talk about her kind of returning in some sort of a capacity, and that part of why she had left was due to health reasons. So they're not stating why she passed or what the story was there, but I think one of the biggest things to talk about here is that Uoma was such a brilliant brand. I had quite a few of their bits and pieces. They did some really great stuff around Juneteenth, and it was incredible. So I feel like we've really lost an incredible visionary, and if nothing else, like, she was so young. Like, she's only 3 years older than me, and that is just horrifically sad. I find it odd that when I went over to Uoma Beauty themselves over on Instagram, there was no mention of it. Like, it wasn't as a post or anything. I personally found that a little bit strange. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm being weird. I don't know. But it's terribly sad. And we can tell that we're heading into autumn, not just because of the fact that there's some little telltale signs. One of them is that Enoch Burke has returned to the school gates to give out about the fact that he should be teaching. And it's like, no, you shouldn't, you silly goose. But the other thing is, obviously, we're getting a lot of Halloween themed stuff. And this is the first Halloween themed thing that we're seeing. This is Nomad Cosmetics. Now, they have done a Halloween themed palette for years, which is cool. And they're usually really, really interesting. But what's interesting this year, or what's a little bit different, is the fact that it's not just a palette that we're getting, it's actually lipsticks, which we haven't seen from them before. To which I say, kudos, delighted to see some new sort of products. So the palette itself is €56.95, and there are 3 lipsticks, as I said. There's Devil's Book, which is a crimson colour, Hocus Pocus, which is purple, and Witching Hour, which is gold, and they're €17.95 each. Now, if you are greedy and want the whole collection, you can get it for €109.95, but if you want a palette and one of the lipsticks, it's €72.95. And the palette itself and the whole collection is inspired by Salem, which makes so much sense for a Halloween palette. I feel like it's a little bit obvious, but I am giving them space for that because, let's be real, all of their Halloween palettes to date have not really been around the obvious things, and for them to do travel palettes, it was inevitable that they would get to Salem, and I'm kind of here for it. Do you know what I find quite interesting? The palette itself is infused with pumpkin seed oil, which just feels so correct for this time of year. As per usual, there's no parabens, no phthalates, all of that sort of things, and it's an 18-pan colour palette. And this is what I'm really loving. They are a proud supporter of Panthera, and they're helping save the wild black cats. Yes! You know my feelings about cats. And they do this with all of their collections. They find a particular charity and they give a certain amount towards that. And personally, I quite like this. Now, they have said that this is not limited edition. Thank you. You know my feelings on limited edition. And they said that they will restock if we sell out. EU customers, their new launch will be available for pre-order only, which is totally fine. It's grand. Let us talk about the eyeshadow palette. Okay, so there's a little bit of, we won't say drama because I think it's just a bit foolish. There was a particular, I'm not going to say brand, but somebody associated very closely with a brand who was inadvertently trying to call out Nomad and saying that Nomad was copying their colour story, and it's like, now, let's not do that. Because here's the thing, the colour story, it is really nice, but is it anything new? Is it anything innovative? No, it's exactly the colours that you would expect, A, for this time of year, and B, for Halloween. There's a bright green in there, there's an orange, there's some purples, and there's some reds, right? That is the quintessential Halloween palette. So when somebody else is going like, oh, they're trying to imitate us, no, this is just like the very obvious colour story to do. And as I said, they went with the somewhat obvious Salem, which I'm not against. So it makes sense then that they went with the slightly generic idea of colour stories. Now, in saying that, I think this is beautiful. I do. I like it, right? For all of my talk of saying like, oh, I've seen these sort of colour stories before, I like them. There's a reason why these tend to reoccur. It's because they are popular, right? They do well. Now, do I necessarily need this? No, I don't. You guys know, I absolutely don't. I like Nomad's quality. I have found that over time they've just gotten better and better and better. I like that there's some kind of slightly more neutral shades in here, and by that I mean the kind of goldy bits. The greys are a really nice little touch, and kind of the blue toned purples in there. It feels like there's like little trios of each colour, and I appreciate that. Sometimes there's quads, it depends on which ones that you're looking at. I think that this is done very well. Is it new? Is it like totally different from anything we've seen before? No, but you know what? If you do it well, you do it well. And if the formula is good, the formula is good. And based upon those swatches, they look good. Based upon my previous experience of the brand, I suspect they're pretty good. So kudos, quite frankly. And I think that other brand was a bit threatened because this is comparable in price. I'm not going to mention the brand because I don't support them. But this is comparable in price, but better. So feels like an interesting one to go against. In terms of the lipsticks, I love that they're doing something different. Like, I love that they're not just going with eyeshadows. Don't get me wrong, you guys know I fucking love eyeshadows. It's a little bit of an issue, but I like to see a brand kind of going away from that. And I think when you're doing something like lipsticks, which are the things that people tend to repurchase, you know, lip liners, eye pencils, lipsticks, etc. They're the things that we tend to repurchase. So seeing them kind of break out of their norm, I love that. Do I love these colours? No, not really. I do think that when you see them in the bullet, I'm like, God, that's gorgeous. Like, it looks like it's molten, like whatever way they've like formulated it, it looks great. However, when I see it on the lips, and this is just a personal thing, if this is your jam, I'm delighted for you, as it should be. You know, we all like our own thing. I just don't love that metallic-iness with those particular shades. I've nothing against metallic per se, it just has to be very particular shades. And in this particular instance, I just feel they're not quite the correct tones for me, right? I do appreciate, thank goodness, that they've shown them on the lips. That helps us to make some informed decisions, and they look pretty interesting. However, as I said, because I don't tend to go for those shades, there's something a little bit more dated about them, not necessarily in a bad way, it's just, it wouldn't be something for me. As a result, it's not something I would necessarily get. In terms of the collection overall, do you know what? I don't think it's bad. Like I said, it's kind of par for the course Halloween stuff. Nothing wrong with it. It's kind of what you'd expect. If you like these sort of colour stories, you're going to do well with it. It's a good brand. I love the fact that they're putting money towards Pantera, like the charity, not the band. That would be really weird. Can you imagine a band just being like, please give us money? Although I suppose technically they kind of do, but I digress. That is not the point of this. Yeah, they obviously have their cool like packaging, etc. We know though, don't buy things based upon packaging, even though I am foolish and I do. That tends to be a weird decider for me. Like, if the inside is nice and then the packaging is like really nice, I tend to kind of convince myself into it. But if the outside packaging is ugly, I'm like, no, never mind. Which just shows I'm a shallow person. and I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life. But that, do you know what? It's okay. That is my cross to bear, and it'll be fine. Yeah, and that kind of encapsulates the collection overall. It's fine, but I don't necessarily need it, and isn't that wonderful? However, this next one, shut the front door. This is fabulous. So as you're watching this, it should be available for you guys. This is Bella Beaute Bar, who have collaborated with Noopur makeup, and this is the Coalescence collection. So you have a magnetic palette, and you have 16 shades of that. It's beautiful. You know my feelings on these sorts of shades when there's like a beautiful lavender purple in there, a little bit deeper than that, but I like it, and a sagey green in there. Love it. I mean, look, I'm predictable in what I like, and that's okay. I see a purple, I see a green, I'm interested. I like it. Will also say anything I've tried from Bella Beaute Bar. Very, very good. I do think though they do a little bit too much, but that's just me being me. This is done beautifully. In addition to that palette, there are also 4 singles, and they range between $15 to $16, and the palette itself is $69. However, there are some codes. I know Makeup on Your Radar has one. It's Radar 10. I think it might be affiliated, so look, you know, they're fantastic. They give me a lot of information, so thank you, Jamie. You're wonderful. If you guys want it, there's a code. There you go. Never pay full price, etc, etc. Let us discuss the palette first, because that is the thing that I like. I don't know why I'm talking in such a staccato, but it is what it is, and we're all right with it. I mean, there are individual shades in there that I'm looking at, and I do just think are absolutely gorgeous. Noopur has done a fabulous job with curating this. It feels like the sort of colour story I've a tendency to go for. I know they were saying that basically there's a whole story as to the shades behind this, and that there are people that this kind of represents, which I'm just like, shut up. That is so sweet. I love that. I love when people like create things from the heart. It's just lovely. The shade Libra is stunning. Chaos. Oh my goodness, love that. And even the shade Sprout is beautiful. Now, of course, the duochromes, etc., they look beautiful. They've pictured them very, very well. So again, well done on managing to do that. I like the colour story of this a lot. I really do. However, because I like it so much, I have a lot of stuff in my collection that is quite like this, right? I like what I like. I go for what I like. And then I have like 50 of the same things. And don't get me wrong, I'm delighted with it, but I am trying to catch myself in that. It is beautifully, beautifully curated though. And of course you have those pans that are removable, etc., which I just think is always a big win for us these days. It's so pretty for this time of year. Actually, do you know what? Screw me saying for this time of year. It's pretty for any time of year, because let's be real, you can wear makeup anytime you want. I like it. I do. I think $69 is a bit high, but that's just because I feel a bit cheap these days. I'm after spending a lot on my garden. Don't ask. And that's not a euphemism. It's actually like my garden, not like my garden. That went a little bit strange. So yeah, I feel like it's not a bad price, but obviously coming from the US, that's a whole other thing. Now, let's talk about those singles. They are beautiful. Obviously, more expensive. They're between $15 and $16. So they're going to be very well considered purchases, I think, from people who are really, really into makeup. Now, I do think they're absolutely gorgeous. Again, she said that there's essentially reasons behind why they're called what they're called. For me, the shade Aurora is probably the most interesting. Could I maybe dupe this in my collection? Probably, but that's because my collection is ridiculous. But again, if you got the palette and you got these, you could kind of like pop a few of them in, pop a few of them out, curate your own thing. I think that's really, really smart. I do appreciate the fact that they've made these separate so that it wouldn't increase the price of the palette any further, because obviously if you had that be a 20 pan palette with these added, whoo, you'll be talking about over $100. So I do appreciate the fact that these are those additional ones for the people who are really into that, because most makeup kind of enthusiasts are going to be thinking to themselves, I want some nice mattes, and if I can have some nice shinies, fantastic, but the mattes are going to be the base of everything that I need. So I do think it's absolutely gorgeous. And even seeing the shade Radioactive, you know me, I see a green base of something and I'm like, delicious. And I do like that they've presented it in that little clear case, and I'm like, oh, I'd kind of half think of that. They have done such a great job with curating this. I do feel, like I said before, that Bella Beaute Bar sometimes does one too many collections. It does. I personally get overwhelmed, but I think I'm just an overwhelmed person. Like I wake up and I'm just like, what is this crushing anxiety on my chest? And then I actually just realise it's Cece sitting on top of me. And then she leaves and then I'm like, no, it was actually just anxiety. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's just me that feels a bit overwhelmed. But I think, look, it's a safe space. I can say it. Feel free to disagree with me. We don't do echo chambers over here. That's absolute foolishness. I think it's curated very, very well. I love the fact that there's heart behind this. There's a story behind this. This is from somebody who is a complete makeup enthusiast, and frankly, they know what it is that they're talking about because they've been doing this for so long. So I really, really appreciate this. It is so my kind of colour story between the singles and the actual palette itself. Oh, it is. But you guys know, tariffs. So if you are in Jolligark, you've ruined things for everyone. If it wasn't for that, I would seriously consider this, because I do think it's just done so well. Now, as I'm filming, I don't know if they'll do like a bundle price of like the palette and the singles, or even the singles together. I assume they would, because they tend to be pretty good on that. So hopefully it would take a little bit off. If you're in the US, etc., you'll probably be able to get this a little bit more easily. You won't have to think about all those horrible tariffs, etc. I think it's really, really gorgeous, done so well. It's such a versatile little palette. I like it. I'm just not in the market at the moment, and that is okay. Oh my goodness, how many jelly sticks are we going to see? It does feel a little bit like this is the thing this year, right? We started off at the beginning of the year and it was the Dose of Colours, and then it went to Juicy, and then it went to She Glam, and then it just kept trickling down and trickling down and trickling down, to the point that last week I was talking about the Jordana Tisha ones, but Tower 28 have come out with their ones as well. So this is the GoGo Cooling Shimmer 8-hour eyeshadow stick. So it's the same sort of thing. They're saying that it's cooling, so I suspect same sort of ingredients are involved here. Now this is wildly expensive. They're $20, right? Obviously it's not the cheapest that you can get it. You can get them on She Glam, which is much cheaper, but I mean, not everyone wants to buy She Glam, Shein, etc. And that is fair. I'm not going to tell you what to do with yourself. I like Tower 28. I don't have a lot from them, but I have some blushes. Thanks, Daniela. And I think they're very, very good. So this has me intrigued. Do I feel they're a smidgen late to the party? I don't know. I don't feel they're necessarily marketing these that well, because they're just kind of showing a little bit lackluster. However, I find that jelly sticks in general, when you're looking at them online, do not translate very well, and then you get them in your gross little paws and you're like, ah, all is well with the world. So I kind of add a little dimension of imagination when I'm looking at these. So kind of bear that in mind when I'm talking about this, because what I'm saying may not match with the pictures, and you're going to be like, Teresa, you're not well. And it's like, well, yes, this is correct, but not for that particular reason. It is one of those ones that you do just kind of have to see them in person. So if you're near a Sephora, etc., I would say probably have a little look, gawk, because these could be quite nice. I like the idea of these. Obviously I have quite a few of them. I'm not trying to collect these, right? I've got a lot of these across several brands, and I have been kind of thinking about getting the Jordana Tisha ones, so I don't know if I necessarily need these, but this is quite a big collection. Like, there's 9 of these. Very few other brands have actually come out with that many. I mean, when Dose of Colours came out first, they came out with 2. When She Glam came out, I think it was 4 or 5, something like that. When they started off first with the Powerpuff Girls, and they had 3 of those, and then they had a few others, so they kind of trickled them down. Jordana Tisha, I think it's only 5, which is grand. That's a good number. So this is pretty big. This is quite a big collection, and it kind of links in with what you would think of Tower 28 in general. It is very cool girl, guy, they sort of aesthetic. It's relatively effortless, you know, and that's kind of the whole point of jelly sticks. It is that you just shove them on, you get this gorgeous sparkle, and you know, you look luminous and fabulous, and we all love it. Do I love every single shade? You guys know I couldn't possibly, even though I'm a greedy bee. There's definitely some shades that kind of appeal to me more than others, and I think it's shades like Viper and Garden, not just because of the names, which do intrigue me, but I think they are the most interesting ones to me. As you can see, when they're swatched out, they're not like much to talk about, but that's kind of the case with jelly sticks in general, and they've kind of built them up to full opacity. These are not meant to be built up to full opacity. I mean, you can if you want, but honestly, when you're putting that much sparkle in one area, it looks a bit weird. What you want with something like this is to actually have it be very, very diffused. When they show it in the eye, it's a little bit better, gives you a little bit more of an idea as to how it would look. Again, they've kind of diffused it a little bit. So you can kind of see the potential there. Am I sold on this? No, not with the way that they've presented it. I do like Tower 28 and what I've tried from them. Have I tried enough from them to buy something like this without checking out reviews first? No, because I'm trying to be a little bit more clever on this. However, if I was going into a Sephora or anywhere that stocked them, I would be checking that out. Also, I'm salty. We should have a Sephora here in Ireland. That makes me very annoyed. We should, just for me, if nothing else. But I like the idea of this. I'm not sure they've necessarily demonstrated it in the best way, just based upon my understanding of these type of products. There's potential there, and I see how it could fit with the brand, but I just feel like they haven't really showcased it in the best way. Now, in terms of the price point, it's not bad. It's very much kind of in the ballpark of what we would see with a lot of other ones, bar, She Glam, etc. So this is going to come down to your own personal preference of shades, etc. Whether you've tried any of these particular things before. Now, they do actually have a bundle price where you can get 6 of them for, I think it's like $80 or something like that. And now, don't quote me, I could be completely wrong. But you can't get all 9 of them, which I thought was quite an interesting one. But yeah, for me, I don't want all of them. There's 2 that I'm interested in. However, probably don't need garden if I'm 100% honest with myself, because I have other things that I could dupe out with that. But Viper is a little bit more different for me. Whiskey is also quite nice now that I'm looking at it. It's okay though. I don't need these things and I will be fine. The world will continue to turn without me getting these particular things. But it's fine. It's just really weird that this is like the thing, right? I will say, better than fucking jelly blush. I'll take jelly eyeshadows over jelly blush because this is miles better. And speaking of miles better, we have Glisten Cosmetics. You guys know I love this brand. That's why I'm an affiliate. I know, isn't that disgusting? But my friend Danielle is also an affiliate, so you can use her code or my code. It's down below in the description box. Hers is Cosmic Peaches. Mine is just my name, Teresa. Whatever. Blah. We're done. But I love Glisten Cosmetics. I do. It's a bit annoying. And to date, I have all of their Chroma flicks. So I'm very angry about this because I'm trying to be better with money. And they're coming out with 8. Now, they are very affordable. They're £12 each. So as it goes, it's not going to break the bank, and they have a bundle right now of the 8 for £80, which doesn't feel like the worst. And I believe you can stack codes on top of that, so you could probably get it for less. These are stunning. If you are interested in really interesting duochrome metallic-y liners, this is probably something that you would really enjoy. They're very easy to use. The liner on it is really nice and thin. I've gotten a lot of use out of the ones that I've got. The last ones that they came out were much more neutral leaning, like there was a lot of like golds and browns and silvers, and they were beautiful metallic. So this is kind of reverting back to the more kind of colourful ones. Now, I really appreciate the way that they've actually demonstrated these, because they've shown them in low light and in high light, or like a large level of lighting, and on different skin tones. And you guys know my thing around swatching, it does depend upon the lighting that you have as to what you can see from that. In the low lighting, you can really see some of the shifts really well. In the high lighting, you can see just how fucking sparkly it is. You're like, Jesus Christ, that's gonna take an eye out. It's so metallic. What is going on there? So I really appreciate the fact that a smaller brand can do that. Like, kudos to them. Do you need every single shade? No. And this is, by the way, me saying this is, it's not so much for you as it is for me. I'm trying to convince myself because I'm a disgusting completionist. You probably don't need them all. Do I think that these are super different from the ones that they've done before? Yeah, like when they're on the eye, unless you're like really into it, most people aren't going to notice it. They'll just be like, all shades of purple are the same, right? So it's going to be down to you to figure out. Like the shade Shockwave, it does feel like they have some shades that are similar to that, or there's stuff that's in their collection thus far that I think is a little bit nicer. Just in my opinion. Feel free to disagree. But I think it's really nice. It's a great price point, so I'm not really going to whinge about it too much. But also take everything that I'm saying with a pinch of salt, because I'm a disgusting affiliate. Blah. But it fits with them. They're a good brand. It's just fun. And I love these sort of liners because I'm not great with like doing eye makeup, but I love when I put on a liner like that and it makes it look like I know how to do things. Honest to God, just putting on an interesting liner, it makes people think that you can do things, which I like. I'm a tricky person and I enjoy that. Oh my God, this one is a strange one. So Covergirl have collaborated with Stranger Things, which is not the strangest thing that we've seen. Stranger Things have collaborated with other brands before. The most recent one, of course, was Colourpop. Before that, they did, I think it was MAC, wasn't it? 99.9% certain it was MAC. Anyways, they have the Stranger Things The Crawl Face and Eye Multi-Palette. So it's like a face and eye palette for $15.99. The Upside Down Makeup Bag for $11.99. The Vecna's Curse, and there's a reason why I sighed. This fucking collection from here on out is essentially pH, with the exception of the eyeliners. The blushes are pH transforming blushes, and there's two shades. I say that loosely because pH, you know my feelings on that, I fucking hate them. $12.99 each. There's the Stranger Things The Bite pH transforming lip glosses. Again, 2 of those, $11.99 each. And then they have 3 shades of Upside Down, and it's UPS-EYE Upside Down Kohl eyeliner, $11.99 each. I'm confused by this because I feel like this collection is late in the sense that Stranger Things does not have, in my opinion, the traction that it once did. I've never watched it. I'm really bad. If somebody tells me, oh my God, you need to do this, I won't do it. And I've had so many people going, oh my God, you should watch Stranger Things. And I no, absolutely not. I've no interest, don't want to watch it. Looks stupid. Don't want to. I'm sorry, if you love it, I'm delighted for you. This is me, this is my issue. So this feels like, you've come to this really late. I know they're doing their last season and there was a long space between the penultimate season and this one. So this just feels a little bit strange. In terms of the face and eye palette, I mean, the show itself is not really known for makeup from what I understand. But how do I say this it's ugly. It's ugly. Like, I mean, yes, it isn't going to break the bank, but it's not attractive. And I know that they're saying like it's a face and an eye palette, but like, Now, if you love a red blush, that's fantastic. I know the lovely Joe, who was on with me last week, loves a red blush, in which case, maybe this might be good. And Covergirl are a good brand, right? People generally talk about them. Can't get them over here. It is what it is. The highlighters, look, you know my feelings on things like this. Whenever you bundle these things, you are inevitably excluding people, right? I find it hilarious that they're even putting these swatches on a deeper skin tone, because it's like, well, these things that are meant for the face are not for you, but use them on your eyes. But I'm also like, have they said that those ones are blushes and highlighters, etc., because they may not be eye safe? You know how there's been all that thing around Mocra and blah blah blah. So I'm just like, nah. This is silly. And even the eyeshadows, etc., they are so uncohesive. They do not make sense. Like, you're talking about 4 eyeshadows, right? None of them go together. None of them. And I mean, yes, you can have things clash, but Jesus, they shouldn't clash that much. Like, the eyeshadows themselves individually are not hideous. Like, the shade Mallrats looks kind of nice, but altogether, there's no cohesion. Is the show incohesive? Is that what they're going for here? In which case, maybe. I don't know. But I do know that obviously brands tend to bank on people loving an IP and just running off and getting something without thinking about it. And just kind of saying, well, this name is smacked onto this, so therefore I shall buy it because I love this IP. And I'd like to think that you guys are like more discerning than that, but this just feels a bit laissez. Granted, they obviously have a red and a black in there because that's kind of like the colours of the show or their logo, or whatever the fuck it is that you call it. That kind of makes sense, but beyond that, I don't get it. But again, I don't watch the show, so I don't care. The blushes. pH? No. Look, insert everything that I've ever said about pH blushes. I'm sure that somebody down below who is very good and attentive has listened to me and will say, or bullet point, what it is that I've talked about before, because I cannot be bothered with repeating myself. Why won't pH die? The thing in makeup, not pH in general, because pH is very important. I had a very long conversation about the pH pH of my soil today. Again, of my garden, not of other things. So I just look at this and I'm like, the stupidity of this. I do like that it's a purple and a pink blush, and they look grand. You can kind of see the difference when they're on. A little bit, not that much. Did you need the two? Probably not. It's not wildly expensive. Again, like I said, Covergirl tends to be seen as being quite good, like good quality. I just cannot fucking fathom pH stuff. I do appreciate though that they've kept their packaging pretty sleek on that. It's nothing like huge or OTT, so fair enough. The lip glosses, you didn't need the two of them. When you see them swatched out on the arms, that's stupid. Do you see what I mean? pH, it all comes out quite the same. Quite the same. And one of them is meant to be more black, like it's in a black tube, and one is green. And yet, when swatched out, they look very similar. And I'm going to show them to you on the lips as well, right? And I need you to try and answer this honestly. If you saw people side by side wearing one and another person was wearing the other one, would you be able to tell the difference? Because I personally would not. I'd have to really, really think about it. And I just think it's lazy, right? If you are hell-bent, and emphasis on the word hell, if you are hell-bent on having pH lip glosses, do one. Don't do two, because they're going to be so similar. That's just foolishness. You're being greedy. Stop it, right? Stop it right now. And that's also just a lesson for pH in general. Stop them, stop them, stop them, because I'm not able for it. The eyeliners, they're not a bad one. They're not a bad one. Covergirl are known for having pretty good eyeliners. The black is quite safe, let's be real. A lot of people will like that. The red, kind of interesting. Don't hate that, because it's hard enough to get a good red eyeliner. And the purple, not a bad one. Yeah, like I kind of feel like those are pretty good ones. In my personal opinion, probably the better part of the collection in general. Yeah, the rest of it, I'm just like, what is this absolute nonsense? Because you see them on the eyes, and that red, for example, look at the pigment on that. That is really, really good. Yeah, but it's getting lost in the trash of everything else that's out there. And that's $11.99. That is not bad. That's a damn good red, right? The black, it's not a bad one. I do feel it's a little bit more grey leaning than I would personally like, because I like my black to be really, really black. But maybe it's like, this isn't meant to be black. Maybe it's actually meant to be that sort of a greyish, slaty black. Maybe I'm just being a bit like pedantic on these particular things, but I do think it's quite nice. I just feel like that sort of a shade is kind of tricky if that's what you're going for, because inevitably people like me will go like, you couldn't get the black enough, and then somebody's like, that's not what we were going for. We weren't going for a black, which is, you know, fair. The purple, that looked quite nice as well. It's a little bit of a metallic-iness to it, which I think is interesting. So do you see what I mean? Like, these eyeliners, in my opinion, the best fucking part of that collection, right? If they'd even done maybe one or two extra shades, because I'm a greedy babe, that could have been the collection. That could have been it. And they could have really gone on that whole like upside down with the really terrible wordplay. But you know what? I like a little bit of a pun. It's not a bad one. That could have been better. Do you know what I mean? Whereas all the rest of it, foolishness. And eyeliner, most people can wear those unless you have like some allergies to certain things, in which case, you know, that sucks. But like, at least eyeliners, they're more inclusive, and you're not basically saying to a whole chunk of people, sorry, you can't have this face eye palette because the highlighters and the blushes aren't made for you. So this feels a little bit better. In terms of the makeup bag, grand. Fine, in the nicest way possible. I don't care, don't think that's necessary, but I guess for some people they'll look at that and be like, yeah, I absolutely love it. To which, fantastic. Yeah, the collection overall, I'm not a fan of Stranger Things, never got into it, don't give a shit. I can't get Covergirl here, so it's all a bit of a moot point for me. However, if I was hypothetically in a situation where I could buy this, I wouldn't buy the entire collection. I think it's foolish. I think it's unnecessary. I think it is just trying to prey upon people loving an IP. And look, that's what brands, that's what companies do. They exist to take our money, the bastards. And frankly, they've taken a lot of my money over the years, so I'm allowed to say it. I do think though the eyeliners are probably the better part of this collection overall, but in general it's hard to actually kind of sift through a lot of that because it is fucking nonsense. I'm gonna say it, as soon as a brand does a pH something, they fall several levels in terms of their credibility and professionalism in my eyes. I really don't like it. Now, if you do, again, that's totally fine. I just, it's so annoying to me. I'm a very complex, strange person, and apparently pH things just really, really bug me. So yeah, it's fine. Don't care. And yeah, we're gonna keep on with that because we have some more IP to talk about, and this is Beaute Creations, who are, I think, trying to do a launch every 2 weeks, which feels like the end of the world, which, honest to God, it might be. So this is the Toki Doki brand, and this is the Hanami Picnic Collection. As I'm filming, it's not available, so I don't have the prices yet, but I found the information over on, I think it was Makeup on Your Radar, or it might have been Trend Mood, so there you go. Anyways, the collection features the whole set if you want it. There's the Rosa Blurring Lip Crayon, the Floor Blurring Lip Crayon. There's 5 limited edition Riding Solo shadows. So there's Pink Kira Kira, Isakura Star, Bambino Blue, Misty Nova, and Love You Matcha. There's also the Two Toe Hydrating Essence Spray, Sayonara Ciao Hydrocolloid Blemish Patches, Pinku Bambina Lip Treatment, Eye Ammo Eyeliner, Stamp and Pen, Peach Blossom Blush Trio, Donatella Lychee Lip Oil Donatini, Cherry Lip Oil Momoko PH Lip Balm, and Ethereal Lip Balm. Right. By the way, that was really hard to pronounce, trying to read through all of that. But I also have hopefully shown you a video of them kind of showing some of that, because frankly, I don't want to go too in depth on this. I'm just going to go through the pictures that I currently have at hand, because frankly, editing Teresa does enough, and I'm not putting any more on her plate. You don't have to go and source any other things, you silly little goose. You'll be all right. The lip balms. Let's start with those. Insert everything I said about the pH shit before. I think it's stupid and I fucking hate it. Packaging itself, not bad if you're into the whole Toki Doki or whatever. I'm not, so if you're into that, you might be like, yeah, this is my jam, in which case, delighted for you. Fantastic. The blushes, we've seen these before. We've seen these 1,000 times before. Every brand and their mother has this. Morphe has done this. Patrick Ta. No, not Patrick Ta. Patrick Star. I always think of Patrick Star and start saying Patrick Ta. It's a bit of an issue. And they are no way similar. It's just the Patrick bit that gets me. But there you go. Yeah, we've seen these sort of things before. They're done. But Beaute Creations are definitely there. Whew, they are really going for it. And personally, I'm not for it. Don't love it. The lip kajiggers, yeah, they look fine. If you look at most of their collection, they have done this 500 million times already. So I wonder how much of an overlap there is with these and their previous collections, including their IPs. They're very, very many IPs. The eyeshadows, they've kind of done ones like this before with things like SpongeBob SquarePants. So I would assume that this will be kind of similar. Not necessarily the same in terms of the shades, but maybe the same in terms of quality or the sort of payoff. They're fine. Again, don't care in the nicest way that I can say. Just don't care. Yeah, they even have like some other bits and pieces of some lip balmy whatever. Yeah, I don't care. I think the more that I see from Beaute Creations, the more annoyed I get. I think this is just the episode where I'm a bit annoyed. It might be. I feel so filled with rage as a human being. It is what it is. But it just annoys me that there's so much of this bullshit out there, and it feels like there's so many brands out there doing the same sort of thing, the copy and the paste. There's no innovation. It's just, let's get an IP, let's put our name onto it, let's just try and get people who love these things. Because like, my understanding of this IP is people go hard for it, they love it, they collect it. Not judging. Major collector here of things myself. I understand. But when you're doing this sort of cheap bullshit, no thought to it, that really, really bugs me. Again, the pH stuff, not even going to get into it. But there's nothing about this that is interesting to me. Yes, they're an affordable brand, so for people who are into collecting, it's good in that sense that they're not going to put themselves into any sort of a financial hole to get the IP that they care about. But it's also like, you get what you pay for. It's not great. And again, I didn't have the best interaction with their customer service, so they're just a brand that I personally don't feel very excited about. I use the lip liners that I bought from them, but they're they're all right. You know, that's not great when you're talking about a lip liner. Like, it's hard to F up a lip liner. So when it's just coming out as being all right, it's like, oh. So I wouldn't have a lot of faith in the rest of their stuff. A lot of this is like style over substance of the packaging is the thing that they're going for rather than the stuff inside. So yeah, in the nicest way possible. I don't care. Then we have NYX, and this is their Wonder Snatch powder, and weirdly this is available in Ireland and Europe but not in the US yet, which is really strange. So over on Boots here it's €11.49 and they come in 8 shades, which is interesting in and of itself. They say this good for you powder technology is made with no talc, no silica, which I do appreciate, no talc, that's great, particularly at that price. Infused with green tea for that rich in antioxidants glow of healthy skin, lifting peptides known to firm skin and high power pigments that brighten and blend seamlessly for a translucent payoff, and it's vegan and cruelty free, which is obviously a big thing. Here's the thing, NYX have an opportunity right now to really fucking clean up in terms of the drugstore brands, right? Because e.l.f., maybe it's just the side of the internet I'm on, but e.l.f. are not having the best of times, right? There's a lot of people, myself included, who are like, yeah, we're not going to be talking about them, like their new stuff. Bar, kind of going naughty. We're not going to be buying their new stuff. We're not going to be talking about them, blah, blah, blah. And NYX have an opportunity to kind of swoop in as being the big drugstore one. And NYX are pretty good as it is. I find them very hit or miss. They do a lot of stuff, but this is their opportunity to kind of do things well. And I think this whole idea of being talc free at that price is not bad. I don't hate that. So kind of interesting. That being said, if you go talc free, it can be, if you go for the very cheaper ingredients around that, it can look a little bit shiny. So I'm kind of like, we'll see. It looks like it's fairly matte, like it doesn't look like it's giving you any sort of a shiny shimmery thing, so it seems like they haven't at least skimped on that. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the shade range. Absolutely terrible. Why in the year of 2025 are we still struggling with shades? Like, that's ridiculous. There's quite a few fair shades, not that many medium shades, and then there's that one shade that they're like, this is for deeper skin tones, and I'm like, nah, that's medium to deep at best. And by the way, I've shown you a picture of the lightest shade over on the left hand side and the deepest shade on corresponding models, and I think you can really see just the fact that that deep shade is too light for that model. It is not, in my opinion, the correct shade on her, and I do not understand how you can come out with a product that has such a poor shade range. And yes, I know it's meant to be translucent, but it's not. Like, you can actually see how her skin has changed quite a bit in terms of its colour. Now, maybe it's whatever foundation she has on, in which case they have not shade matched her correctly. Like, they've kind of gone with a slightly different shade to her, which is really shitty, and you would think that they'd have people who would know how to do that. I am confused as to why that's such a poor shade range, etc. The price point is good. I have nothing against that, but we need several additional shades. I don't get it. I think it looks decent on the skin. Yeah, I don't hate it. I have enough powders right now. I don't need to go off and buy any more. But NYX do need to have a little think about this, because it's not great. Like, I don't hate it as an idea. It's just the fact that we have such a shitty shade range. Like, how? And again, I realise the weirdness of me saying that when I am so frighteningly fair, right? I come in with all of the privilege that kind of entails. I just can't fathom why it's still happening, and it's happening on such an audacious level, and that there doesn't seem like that there's no one high up that's kind of saying, as they're going through production and marketing, etc., this could be an issue. Have we not learned anything? What's it just kind of indicates to me that if we looked at the structure of staff, that would be very telling. I'd love to know what the story is there as to the demographics, because I feel like there's a lot of very fair people that might be involved in this and are kind of forgetting that there's lots of different skin tones, undertones, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, They needed, I'd say, another 2-3 shades darker. And you could have maybe been okay there, but I don't understand it, and I'm really trying to rationalise it, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And this is the episode where it feels like brands have come late to IPs and collaborations, right? We talked about Stranger Things, that should have been done a long time ago. Now Nyx, because I'm talking about them again, have collaborated with Bridgerton. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like Bridgerton does not have the hype that it once did. It went down with season 2, it went up a little bit with season 3. Don't hear many people talking about the upcoming season 4. I don't even know when the date of that is coming. You would think that they would kind of coordinate it to kind of align with that. So I'm kind of like, that's interesting. Again, this is an IP that has been done several times before. Pat McGrath did it, as far as I can remember. Kiko Milano, actually, strangely enough, did a Bridgerton one. So I don't have a huge amount of information on this. I did see it over on Trend Mood. I've taken their photos because I'm a disgusting little thief. So there you go. It's the Royal Collection. There's 2 butter glosses. One is praline and the other one is angel food cake, which just makes me hungry. They're $6.79 each. There's 2 highlighters. Only one of them is actually shown on the face, so bear with. They're $11.99 each. There is the Lady in Silver blush duo, the Flush Palettes Wallflower, and the Queen blush duo, and they're each $14.99. And then there's 2 shades of Epic Ink Glitz eyeliner for $11.49. Let us discuss the blush palette. It's kind of the colours that you would expect, lots of pinks. It's kind of what you see in Bridgerton, because they're always being like, oh my god, we must make haste and go on a promenade, and oh, I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I quite like it. Don't get me wrong. I like a little bit of like weird heavy breathing and, you know, period clothing, which isn't really period clothing. None of it looks like it's in the time that it's meant to be. Anyways, that is not the point. But I don't think this is necessarily a bad one, in the sense that NYX have done quite well with their buttermelt blushes. So if they used a similar formula to that, that wouldn't be a bad idea. They haven't specified that, but this is, I mean, to be fair, fairly new. Do I think they needed to have all 3 of these palettes? Not particularly. Not particularly. I'm going to say I think they could have maybe done without Wallflower, because if you go in with a light enough hand with Lady in Silver, you'd get some similar-ish looks. It's a lot of pink. It's a whole lot of pink, you know? Feels very Molly Ringwald, but there you go. Anyways, let's talk about the Queen one. Yeah, having a red one in there, that makes a lot of sense. It looks like it's quite nice on the skin. I appreciate the fact that they are showing these without any makeup retouches. Like I said, I think their blushes are actually pretty good. So this isn't a bad one. The packaging on that is quite nice. They say they have shea butter, mango butter, and almond butter in it. So I assume it's the same sort of butter formula that we would have seen with the buttermelt blushes, which is quite frankly smart. In terms of the Lady in Silver, that's pretty. I would wear that. I absolutely would. I don't hate that. And it would work out as being a little bit cheaper than if you got 2 blushes. So not a bad one. I think it's beautiful on the skin. It does look like it's obviously for somebody who's a little bit more fair based upon the pictures that they're showing there, which I appreciate. And then the Wallflower one. I feel like this is a lot more shiny. Like there's a little bit of like a more highlightery one there. I don't think they necessarily needed that, but that's maybe just me being a bit pernickety. And every time I look at the ingredients, you know, shea butter, mango butter, almond butter, I'm just like, butter, because I'm greedy. I'm a little bit hungry and I haven't had my dinner yet. Don't worry, this is salad waiting for me. It's going to be glorious. I'm very excited about it. Obviously, they're doing their butter glosses. I mean, they're known for their butter glosses. They also came out with some lip lingerie things recently, which seemed okay. Just didn't really want to talk about them. They didn't tickle my pickle. They didn't make me very excited. So I was like, I don't want to talk about it. So it is what it is. Those lip glosses, yeah, they're grand. You know, they look fine. The pinky one, the angel food cake, that's quite nice. Appreciate the fact that it's on a couple of different skin tones, blah, blah, blah. Praline, very nice. I would have preferred that to be a little bit more brown. I think it's a little bit more pinky toned than I would personally like, but I think that's just me. In terms of the highlighter, they've only shown one of them, which is the more gold toned one. I don't think they needed this. So they have done quite a few of these highlighters recently, and there's definitely one that's quite gold leaning. It does seem to capture a lot of texture, and for me, that's just not something I'm interested in. My skin is too streaked with texture. Just is what it is. I'm getting older. I'm, you know, getting a little bit closer to all of the things that comes with it, which is fine lines and texture, and that's all right. We won't worry about that. Again, appreciate the fact that they're showing that without any makeup retouching, so kudos to that. We'll see what the story is with the rest of the ones, but that doesn't really appeal to me. In terms of the eyeliners, I know that people talk about the eyeliners quite a bit, but this feels quite lackluster to me, right? This does not give the wha-bam that I would be looking for if I'm doing something glittery. Right? I just talked about the Glisten Cosmetics Chroma Flik, and these are very comparable in price. There wouldn't be much in the difference between them, particularly once you put on codes, etc. I would sooner go for the Glisten because you would get way more of a thing with this. This just feels very subdued, very wah-wah. Like there's not a lot to it. Like why bother, frankly? That wasn't necessary. Yeah, the collection and all, it's fine. It's fine. NYX do a lot of IPs. They've literally just done the Wednesday Addams one. They did a Home Alone for, was it last year for Christmas? They do a lot. As I said previously, they have the opportunity to do very, very well in the drugstore makeup collection, and they do have a lot of items that are done very well. And one of the things that I appreciate about NYX is that they're not a dupe brand. They do actually try and do their own thing. They aren't retouching things. They are showing them as they are, for better or for worse, and I personally like that. Do I think that you need everything from this collection? Absolutely not. That's insane. I also think that this IP is not that fresh or now or current. Maybe that's just me. I just don't think it's as interesting to consumers as it would have been 2 or even 3 years ago. It's fine. It's just a little bit formulaic, right? There's nothing here that is very, very new. They've played it safe with a lot of the stuff that they know that they do well. Like I said, their blushes, etc. And they've come out with their butter glosses. And again, they're known for that. They've done well. But there's nothing that I'm sitting here going, that's really different. Haven't seen that before. You have the opportunity to kind of give something a bit of a go. And it's a pity they didn't go for that. But yeah, no, just not interesting. Not for me. Let's have a little palette cleanser and talk about some Say Beauty. So this, and I'm going to butcher the name, bear with me, Roingneao. There we go, Roingneao. That's how I'm going to pronounce it, and I'm probably 100% wrong. But if I say it with enough certainty, it will become true. This is the Neon series, which is quite funny because I don't feel like it's very neon, but I'm not going to give out to them for that because actually some of these are quite nice. So there's 3 palettes. There's the True Colors Begin, which is $47.99. It's warm browns and creamy shimmers. There's the Infinite Loading, $47.99. So there's some electric blues and holographic silvers and even like a little pop of pink. And then there's the Grey Consciousness. That's the one I'm very interested in. $47.99, which has moody purples and asphalt mattes. You guys know I am an affiliate with Say Beauty Mall. It's disgusting. Everyone hates it. And I have a code for money off, which I get a commission from. It's my name. There you go. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I saw this and I was like, oh, I like it. I went for the purpley one and I did pop it into a basket, so I'm excited about that one. So beware. I will do something on this at some point. I think this is really, really nice. I do. I like the vibes of these. They're kind of safe. They're kind of fun. I like that there's some removable pans. It's exciting for me. I feel like the price point isn't terrible. And like I said, I'm getting a little bit obsessive with Say Beauty Mall. Let's talk about the more neutral one first. Oh my goodness. It's very pretty. I mean, I'm looking at that and all I can think of is the fact that there's parts of this that could also be used as like a face palette as well, like as like blushes, etc. Really, really beautiful. Those metallics are ridiculous in a really good way. But and this is the thing I really want to talk about. The mattes. You can see from those swatches the level of A, pigment, and B, you can tell there's no chalkiness So there's going to be a really nice texture to that. It's going to be really smooth. It's going to be quite easy to blend. And that's why I love having swatches like that, because you can really see what the story is there. They're not like clean swatches, but you're getting a lot of information from that. Is this 100% my kind of a colour story? No, not really. I'm all right. I don't necessarily need that. It's kind of like a more modern version of the ABH Modern Renaissance. So if you're into that sort of a colour story, you might enjoy that. And I think it's quite nice. This one I feel will be more for people who are into kind of little pops of colour. What's interesting to me about this, and maybe I'm just a bit insane, in which case, you know, fair, but there's aspects of this that makes me think of Trixie. Like, and I don't know why, but it really does. Like, I can imagine Trixie wearing this. I think maybe she's done like a palette that's a bit similar in colour story before. I think that's maybe why I'm thinking of that. That pale blue, the way that's swatched out, that is looking very, very nice. Colour story, very cohesive. Those shimmers, you can see one is more of like a toppery shade. Like I could imagine that being on top of like either the blue or the pink or even maybe the grey, just being absolutely stunning. I love that kind of more toppery shade just because I think they're really fun. That pink, I'm so glad that they swatched it out because it looks much more pale in the pan, and then you see it on the skin and you're like, Jesus, that's really like, that's flamingo pink. That's really, really interesting. I like that. Obviously, because the pans are removable, you could probably take ones from other palettes from this brand and pop them in, pop them out. So I quite like that. Now, do I think I would get enough use out of this? Probably not, which is why I didn't get this one. But I did end up getting this one. I just thought it was really cool. Don't judge me. Or maybe do. I don't know. Again, we see a nice little toppery colour in there, which I was like, oh, give it to me, because I could imagine that on several of the mattes. Again, those mattes are looking really, really smooth, really pigmented. That red, it looks like it's similar-ish to the Noiracorn red from the Ghoul in Japan palette, but just a couple of tones kind of warmer. Where the Ghoul in Japan is more blue toned, this feels like it's leaning a little bit more towards like a yellow, which I think is very, very interesting. And I quite like a red shimmer. They're really fun to like make the eyes pop. The cool tonedness of this juxtaposed with that kind of like more warm toned red is really, really nice to me. I love that you have your shimmers and then you have that really nice kind of a toppery shade in there. So obviously I did end up purchasing that. Don't or do judge me. Do whatever you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I think these are quite nice. I don't think you need all of them. Again, that's just foolishness. But I feel like the quality is looking really nice. Obviously, I've not tried from the brand before, so I'm not going to tell you like, oh my god, it must be amazing, or it is. I'm only telling you based upon what I'm seeing from the swatches that they look like they're good, but I don't know what the story is, so don't go off buying things just in case, right? Do your research. I don't have to say that to you guys, you're no fools. But, you know, I don't want to go off and recommend things willy-nilly. But I did get the intrigue, and I did purchase one, along with some things from the Girl Cult Christmas collection. Specifically the highlighter and the lip glosses that I was interested in. Again, at least I'm actually predictable and you know what it is that you're getting with me. So there you go. We then have Danessa Myricks, and she's adding to her Yummy Skin range, and this time it's the Yummy Skin Liquid Blurring Balm Mattifying Setting Spray, and it comes in two sizes. There's the 100ml, which is retailing for $36, and there's the 30ml, which is retailing for $23. That's coming out very soon. It's coming out on the 4th of September. So the ingredients include niacinamide, Upsolite, which she's included in basically all of her Yummy Skin stuff to date, and hyaluronic acid, which is quite interesting. It's over on the Sephora US website right now. That's where I got the information from. She claims it's a weightless blurring setting spray that sets makeup and refines texture, which I like the sound of that. I do, because again, you guys know I have texture. They've shown it on the skin, and I do appreciate that it is actually giving you a very matte look, but a normal matte look, not like matte from 2016, which was like, I have several layers of powder that even an archaeologist is going to struggle to get under. This is a really nice level of matte. It's the makeup, what makeup? I'm beautiful, blah blah blah, because that clean girl thing. I mean, you know me, I don't love that, but I like the way that it looks on the skin, so I don't hate that. And it does look very realistic in the way that they're showing it, but they've also even shown it on bare skin, which I think is really interesting as well. So you can see it does take a lot of that that shine off, which you kind of would expect when there's like niacinamide, oxalate, etc. into that. And there's also some silica. And it's alcohol free, which is great. So I like the sound of this. And fragrance free. Which I don't mind. I don't mind if there's fragrance in it. That doesn't really like bother my skin. But I know that some people it really bugs them. I'm interested. I'd go for the 30ml one rather than the 100ml one, just because there's nothing worse than getting something and then realizing it's just not the right formula for you. Like, the worst thing that happens is that you get the big one and you're like, ah, no, I hate this, you know, and you've just spent all this and it's very, very difficult then to get rid of it, etc. Whereas if you get the smaller one, the worst is like kind of going, oh, I could have gotten more value for getting the bigger one, which is not as much of an issue, because it's like, well, he'll use it, don't worry, like it's not a big deal. Yeah, I like this. I like a lot of Danessa stuff, bar one or two little bits, so interested. And I do have her as like one of my Sephora brands that I get the 10% off on, because I'm smart. So there you go. Then we have Too Faced, and Too Faced have taken a leaf out of several other brands. Pockets, journals, trees, books. There we go. God, I was scrolling through that. Anyway, they've kind of seen other brands coming out with their own fragrances and went, I would like a piece of that particular pie. There are some very jumbled references and analogies there, so do with that what you want. But of course, in sheer Too Faced fashion, they've gone, it's a fairy bomb, and I'm like, oh god, okay. Could be worse, I suppose. But I like the sound of it, so that's interesting to me. And the price point doesn't seem bad either. It's $28. It's over on Ulta Beauty at the moment. So they say, surround yourself with the warm, effervescent scent of sunny days. Spray the limited edition, don't like that, Too Faced Fairy Bomb Fragrance Body Mist anytime you want to smell unforgettable. But then you've made it limited edition, you silly goose. I'd say they're going to see what the story is there, because they did this with, you know, the singles. They were like, oh, that's limited edition, and then it came out again because they were testing the waters. Fair enough. I see what you're doing. The top notes are apple, mandarin, lemon, and pear. The middle notes are lily of the valley, freesia, and jasmine. And then the base notes are oak moss, amber, sandalwood, and musk. So for me, those are the sort of scents that I'm interested in. Mind you, I like a lot of scents. I like to smell like several things. So do you know what? I don't hate the sound of this. And the price tag isn't too bad. So you know what? I could be convinced. So there's worse out there. I took this from Point Click Vibes. I can't find the information anywhere else, so massive thank you to Point Click Vibes. They've curated this. Well done to them. So this is Wet n Wild's Fantasy Makers 2025 Halloween collection, and they say that the items are priced between $3.99 and $6.99. So I'm not sure which one is which, but we'll get through it. There's matte lipstick, there's some lip stains, there's chameleon lip foils, eye palettes, mega glitter liquid lipstick, and glitter brow gel. They've also said there might be some more things in this collection. They're going to update as we go along. So let's talk about the eyeshadow palettes first. Oh my god, the more greeny toned one, I really like the look of that because I like greens. And Wet n Wild can actually be pretty good in terms of their quality. I have quite a few things from them that I like. Most specifically the tinted hydrator thing, the foundation, that's really nice. I just feel like these palettes, both of which are quite nice, do not have enough dark shades in there to really blend them out. But you know what, even if these are like $6.99 each, I'm not gonna whinge on that, because you can just grab another palette and you'll be fine. You'll be okay. Grab another like deep shade. This isn't bad. This isn't bad. I don't hate that. You know, it's a little bit more different in terms of a Halloween collection. So in terms of like the chameleon chrome stuff, I'm really glad to see them extending that, because they came out with those during the summer. Was it the summer, or was it a couple of, might have been last year. It's very hard to keep track, and it's good to see them coming out with these, because I think their quality on this is very, very good. So I am intrigued to see more of these. The lip stains, they're kind of fun looking, particularly the red one. Like, that's very like on brand for Halloween. Don't hate that. Obviously waiting to see what the story is and how it looks on the lips. The matte black lipstick, well done, well done. Very hard to find a black bullet lipstick, so I'm not against that. Then we have the liquid black one, which seems to have some glitter in it. That looks like fun. Ooh. Do you know what annoys me though, is sometimes these things don't make their way over to Europe or Ireland, etc. So I'm kind of like, curse you. The glitter brow gel, I couldn't find any pictures of that on, but I just wanted to show one of their pictures that they've used, because I just thought it was just done so well and so interestingly. The brow gel, not a bad one. Like, in the nicest way. It's not really for me, but it's grand. This is not a bad one. It's the price point is great. Wet n Wild can be pretty good, and there's nothing there that I'm kind of going, ugh, don't like that. You know, it's quite a nice little collection. I think the green palette is definitely something I'm interested in. I think with the chameleon eyeshadows, they are very nice for like eyeliners, etc. So I'd think about them if you're thinking about that sort of thing. Like, they're not super expensive, so keep a little eye out for that. Then the very last thing that we're going to talk about is Amrezy. If you don't know Amrezy, don't you worry. They are an influencer and they're probably best known for collaborations that they've done with Anastasia Beverly Hills. The Amrezy highlighter, yeah, that's them. Anyways, they're coming out with their own brand and that's launching on the 5th of September. And they've just kind of shown this video, so it looks like we're getting 10 lipsticks, 10 glosses and 10 lip pencils. There's no information as to the price point, etc. here, so we'll see what the story is. The packaging looks quite nice. If I'm 100% honest, when I saw like the lip glosses, etc., the first thing that I thought of was Stila, which I was like, huh, that's quite interesting. Interesting to see that. So we'll see what's going on there, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad one. Kudos to them. Interested to see what the story is. But my gorgeous friends, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I did kind of speed through the end there because my camera was blinking at me and being like, you're running out of time, the battery's gonna die. And I was like, well, we're all going to die, so hate to break it to you, battery. So joke's on you. I do have my favorite comment, and this is from Michaela Reeds, who said, I love watching releases and rants when I'm working. It just totally takes the stress away, makes the time fly by. Love as well the live ones. Great video as usual, Teresa. Why, thank you very much, and a massive thank you as well to the lovely Joe who joined me. They have started their own YouTube. Please do go and check it out. I will link them below. They were telling me that they were filming something there the other day, so it looks like we're going to get a couple of videos from them very, very soon. It's very exciting. But my gorgeous friends, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Do please like, comment and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell because it is polite. And do please share, because sharing is caring, except of course for STDs, in which case just wrap it up. Don't be gross. But that's it. That's the end of the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.